See, again, as I mentioned earlier, this question of autonomy in a multicultural country, multinational country, actually it's a country of many nationalities, subcontinent. So, when they raised this issue of separatism, as I told you, separatist demand, Anna gave up in 1963, and he made a famous speech in parliament saying that we are giving up this demand, but the reasons for separatism still remain. That was the statement he made. So, so that reasons, now again, when it came to state autonomy, later it became state autonomy. So the explanation is we asked for separatism, separate country, that is a maximum demand, maximalist demand. But what we got was the best possible alternative in this. So now, when it came to Kalaignar Karunanidhi had the burden of carrying out all this. Annadurai passed away within 2 years of coming to power. So Kalaignar had to really implement a lot of Dravidian ideas. For example, the state autonomy question, he was the first one in India to appoint a committee for it, P.V. Rajamannar committee. And he is the government, the first government to pass a resolution on state autonomy in the assembly, 1974 resolution. Very interestingly, what he said was, he made a very beautiful speech, very brief speech, which appears in this Sun from the South. He said, we are asking for autonomy or more free states, not only for ourselves, it is for all of you. So it had an all India, but they were all branded as separatists. This is the paradox. Now, in the present context, again this question come up, states' rights and fiscal autonomy is being eroded. Finance Commission's real recommendations are not implemented. So that's what I want to ask Paneer. How does it work now in this context, in the present context of home language issue, in the centralizing, over-centralizing tendency of the government? In this context, how does it work? For example, when social justice, when reservation or social justice demands were raised, the nationalist movement said, Dadabhai Nauroji said, no, don't divide the nationalist movement. National spirit is very important. And now it will divert attention from nationalism. Our goal is to struggle against the imperialists. But actually Periyar said, we are worried about what will happen after you leave, after the imperialists leave, whose rule it will be, from British rule to Brahmin rule. That's what he said. So now, in the present context, all these questions have come up again. And now the Congress, which actually didn't look at the social justice question for a long time, the question which really sent out, which made Periyar walk out, now the Congress is talking of caste survey. Rahul Gandhi is speaking of these issues. He talks about Tamil's greatness of Tamil. Even the Prime Minister talks about the greatness of Tamil. So in the present context, how do you look at it? The whole thing has come up again in a big way.
It's really worrying because of two aspects. One is, what will be the real numerical strength after delimitation? After the delimitation, if your numbers are not going to count for anything, what is the meaning of it? That is one real worry. Next aspect is the role of the judiciary. Sorry. On substantial cases, we don't know on what basis judiciary has come to a conclusion. Whether it is Ayodhya case or whether it's a demonetization case or whether it is on the COVID lockdown case, we don't know on what basis they have come to a real conclusion. It's based on sealed envelopes. Sealed envelopes is not the best way to understand either judiciary or a legal framework. The problem is that legal framework has been now buried under sealed envelope. Therefore, at one level you see a numerical strength getting skewed at one level where the numbers are going to go down. And if the delimitation is going to happen in 2028 numbers, that's what they are saying now. then what is going to be the federal balance? Earlier, when we had these two houses, the Lok Sabha numbers were balanced with your Rajya Sabha arrangement. Therefore, there was some amount of federal balance. With the new delimitation, what is the federal balance? And not in one person is talking about federal balance. Last time when it was raised in the Supreme Court refused to accept the case itself. The central aspect of our democratic imagination, which is federal balance, is under severe strain. Therefore, right now, what I see is I can list out all the challenges in front of us, but I don't have any answers.
Thank you. Another worrying area is where we come from, the media. Media, if you look at the media, if you look at the debates happening, the so-called debates happening in so-called national media, we call anything coming from Delhi as national media, but what is happening in the national media is complete ignorance of what is happening beyond Vidyas, beyond the Vidyas. For example, when this Sanatana Dharma controversy erupted, Hindustan Times wanted me to write an article. I wrote an article, but complete ignorance of the North India. It's not only now. See, many North Indian media people, even English educated people, they cannot pronounce even Tamil names. That's very interesting thing, because I have a friend called Rini Simon. You must be knowing Rini Simon. She was my classmate. She was a Doordarshan newsreader. She studied with me. Later she joined Doordarshan. So one of the first tests, one name they were asked to pronounce. That name is Nedunchezhiyan. Nedunchezhiyan is very difficult. For example, today morning we saw foreigners pronouncing Anbil Poyamari's name, but we can forgive it. But what is this gulf between North and South? Why is it persisting even now? As translators, as media persons, I want some kind of experience. How can we bridge this gap? One thing is, another problem with our kind of, for example, even this conference, people talk only about தமிழ் இலக்கியங்களை கொண்டு போகுது. இலக்கியம்னா இங்கே வந்து ஒன்லி கவிதை, கட்டுரை, இதுதான் இலக்கியம்ங்கிறது. அதில் வந்து இந்த நான் ஃபிக்ஷன் வந்து ஆக்சுவலாக வாட் ஷுட் கோ மோர் டு நார்த் இந்தியா, மோர் ஓவர் அதர் பார்ட்ஸ் ஆஃப் த வேர்ல்டு. Even North India, they don't know, even after 100 years of Dravidian movement, what this movement has really done for this country, and how is it becoming relevant, and how is it making sense to even North Indians now. So this gap is really very, very astonishing. They just don't know. So for that, you have to watch some of the debates which I stopped watching long time, because I don't want to be I want to be sane. So this is we can't answer it easily, but your thoughts on that. How do we overcome it?
Okay, so this is as much a problem of languages as it is of being ready to understand others' ideology. I'm a teacher right now, so from a teacher's point of view, I can see something worrying cropping up. The decline of bilingualism. So we're not even ready to learn a second language completely, properly, let alone other regional languages. So the problem that you mentioned with North Indians not being able to pronounce our names properly, it exists here too. We are unable to pronounce some Bengali names or Hindi names properly too. Most Tamil people, for that matter, struggle with those sounds, because our languages are so diverse that so many sounds that exist in Tamil don't exist in other regional languages, and vice versa. So it is only when we are ready to at least learn the basics of other languages that we'll be able to surpass this gap and kind of bridge this gap and understand their ideology too. We are I should say this now. Until I started reading Anna's stories, I was also completely ignorant of Dravidian politics. I knew the big names, yes, but the ideologies of it, the roots of Dravidian politics, I was completely ignorant. And I guess that's the case with our own politics here. Then it is only after we learn what has happened in our land that we'll move on to other states, understand their politics. I guess our education system also has to accommodate all those values in it.
Yeah, I agree with you because two language formula is very. See, in my case personally, I basically belong to Kerala. There is many generations ago we settled in Tamil Nadu. I throughout my life studied in Tamil medium. Then I used to say that I studied except English. Everything else I studied in Tamil. Because English you cannot study in Tamil. So, but later I switched to English literature. Then I became the editor of an English magazine. But even now I write mostly in Tamil. You rightly raised this issue. That is, the problem is the absence or the lack of or scarcity of bilingual intellectuals. Very few bilingual intellectuals are here in India. Even in Tamil Nadu, for example, take Paneer. Paneer can do it, both languages. He can speak, he can write. You can do it now. I can do it now in both languages. But this is a real issue. Bilingual intellectuals have played a major role all over the world in all kinds of nationalism. Nationalism, the advent of press is very important, and the bilingual intellectuals. But the problem is knowledge, real solid knowledge is non-fiction all over the world. You go to the press club, book fair, you have a lot of fiction. People talk only about fiction. Fiction is given a lot of, I don't deny it, it's very important, it has a place. But many important works in English remain to be translated. So this is a major issue. How do we overcome it? We don't know. This has a lot to do with the education system also. But this emphasis, too much emphasis on this language learning, no, not emphasis. What I suggest is, in my experience, from my experience, I say that if you learn anything, if it's Tamil, if your mother tongue is Tamil, it should be, Tamil language teaching should be very strong. At the same time, English teaching. See, that's why I benefited. Very interestingly, my SLC book says something very interesting. My caste is Nair. My mother tongue is Tamil. It is official entry. So this is India. This is our identity. So this emphasis on English language teaching also is declining. I want to know, Paneer, what do you think? Your thoughts on this?
See, the problem is we are not able to bring out the essential aspect of social markers in language, especially when you are looking at political processes. A lot of things are said in a sentence or in two. Yeah. For instance, when I was doing this Kalingar's biography, he said something which is so difficult for me to translate. In fact, it's not there in the book. He said that எங்க மூமெண்ட்ல வந்து சோறும் உண்டு சாதமும் உண்டு. சாதம் மட்டும்தான் வேணுங்கிறவங்களுக்கு தான் நாங்கள் சோறும் வச்சுக்கணும் சாதமும் வச்சுக்கணும்னு சொன்னது புரியல. I could never translate that fully. How the hell I am going to translate about cooked rice? There are not, it's not two different cooked rice. It's a social marker. The moment if the language is going to have social register, do we have the capability to translate it? I failed there. Next place where I failed was with another DMK leader, Anbaragan. He had a very interesting observation about one of his party MLA who had going up. He said, இவன் வந்து மீதி எல்லாருக்கட்டும் முக்கியமான சினிமாக்காரர். இவன் படத்தில் பாம்பு தான் இருக்குமே தவிர விஷம் கிடையாது. Now, again, it's a very interesting, profound observation. How to translate it? It says that அவங்க படத்தில் பாம்பு இருக்குமே தவிர விஷம் கிடையாது. Now, can I translate this quickly to somebody else? Do I have the capability to explain and transform what I understood in those languages? Political reporting teaches you humility. that after many years of reporting, you realize that there are few things which you can never fully translate. Therefore, the only thing what we recognize is the limitations with which we are understanding our reality. And that's the reason translation has to become much more, much bigger project than what it is today.
Thank you. So that is it. But I want to again trouble you again. Just to, I want you to share with us your experience of writing this book, Karunanidhi, a biography. Because you have come across a lot of these issues, but just the effort. Why you did that? Why did you think that it was very important? And it took a very long time. I think maybe 20 years to write
Yeah.
it. So why did you think of it, and why you think it's even now it's important, and the kind of effort that went into it? Briefly.
Two things. One is the book was started in 1991 after the electoral debacle of DMK. That was also around the time India liberalized, Soviet Union collapsed. For what will be the state of a political party in a liberalized environment? That's how it started. When I started working on it, I realized that it's much more interesting to write the biography of Kalaignar rather than making it a report on the movement. Then it got shifted into the Kalaignar biography. Penguin was prepared to make those changes later. That is, I should thank my editors there for permitting it. But transformation happened as I started working on it. I started it to work only to understand what will be the trajectory of a political party when three major development happens. It liberalized, it's a post-Mandal reality, and then there's a Mandir. In this situation, what will be the state of a political party like DMK? That was the one which triggered the book.
Thank you, Banir.